What's up, guys? CryptoSavy here. Hope everyone's having a fabulous day. We're going to be taking a look at Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and then Dow Jones Industrial Average at the end of the video. Kind of see what I think might be coming. I want to let you know it's pretty interesting. Also, I want to talk a little bit about YouTube. They're lowering their stream quality, and I will explain that a little bit for you. Let's get into the charts and see what's going on. All right, guys, as always, this is not financial advice, investment advice, trading advice, none of that. There's a disclaimer scrolling on the bottom. Make sure you read it, and always remember this is my opinion, not yours. All right, so YouTube joins Netflix and moved to reduce video quality in Europe, and it also is happening in the US now, and I want to show you guys what I mean. If you're watching the video, it might be in lower quality. So if you just click on the settings down here, click on that, and you can go to your quality and turn it up. They used to have HD. Now you can only get 720p 60, but at least you can turn it up. It'll probably be really low when you first turn it on. So I wanted to point that out to you guys so you guys knew that. And while you're down there, hit the like button, leave your comment. Those are also down there also. So yeah, it helps the video out. And let's take a quick look at the news headlines and get a feel for the sentiment. Miners are selling more Bitcoin than they are mining. Bearish. Monero quietly gains 99.5% as Bitcoin price stays stagnant. Geopolitical crisis may benefit oil, gold, and CBDs, not Bitcoin. Bitcoin in range-bound trading as equity markets fail to see lower lows. Daring analysis calls Bitcoin crash to 2.4K soon. I do have a target around there. Is Bitcoin a safe haven? 80% Bitcoin price recovery boost. So Bitcoin price analysis, 7K is a step too far for now. Bitcoin bulls failure. So it's pretty bearish. All the news is pretty bearish in here. So let's look at the fear and greed index is at 12. Yesterday it was at 14, still in extreme fear. So the question is, do we get a nice pump up here before continuing down? And that is a possibility. We're going to take a look at it. Do want to look at the monthly candle here. It does look bullish. Remember, our 55 EMA is down here around the 47.50 range. I put a big move is coming, and I'll show you why here in a minute when we go down to the daily and in the 4 hour. But first, let's take a look at the weekly. And as we've been talking about, we need a push up here to keep this 21 EMA from crossing the 55. If that does happen and our weekly closes Sunday, if we do get this cross, most likely we're going to get some lower lows. Also, I wanted to point out the weekly RSI that we've been watching. As you can see, the red line here is support and resistance line. Back here in 2014, we capitulated below it. Popped back above it, 15, tested it for support, continued on. 2018, capitulated below it, popped back above it in 19, tested it for support. Came back down, got below it, and now we are ranging above it. Now, even though we're up here, even if we stay up here, we could come back down for a retest. So keep that in mind. I want to look at the daily now. So in the daily, our EMAs are turning a little bullish here. As you can see, the 8 is trying to cross the 13 on the daily. I do have some measured moves here. If we are able to get back above this 21 EMA, which is around the 67.47, if we can close above that, we could be headed up to the $72 range, or $7,200 range is my next target, and that is being the 0.5 Fibonacci. 77 has been huge support and resistance for a long time across here, so that would be my, if we can break 72, I see 77 next, and that would line up with the 55 EMA. Then we have our golden retracement zone back over here. That would get us around the $8,000 to $8,100 range. And I think a lot of this is going to depend on what happens with the Dow Jones Industrial today in traditional markets. I believe that the traditional markets are in a huge bull trap. We'll talk about that. We'll take a look at it. But as you know, the economy is not doing great, but the numbers are going up. If you think about it, people talk about the whales in Bitcoin doing that, you know, sucking the bulls in and then dumping on them. I do believe that's what traditional markets are doing right now. As you can see on the news, they're talking about reopening the economy and blah, blah, blah. Everything's starting to look better so they can pump the market. But again, we'll talk about that in the end. Make sure you stick around for it. Also, I want to remind you guys, if you are into trading, I do have a Dudex tutorial. I'll leave it up top. Dudex is good, especially for beginner traders, because they do have a money management. They have a money management tool that you can use. Everybody talks about getting liquidated and things like that. By using that, it's a lot harder to get liquidated because you'll have your orders set to, you know, a lot of people don't use stop losses and that's how you get liquidated. But anyway, check it out. I do have a tutorial. Like I said, I'll leave that up top, and you do get a $110 bonus for using that. I also have some other trading exchanges down below you can use. They all have bonuses. You can read up on them. They're all down below. Check them out. See if it's good for you. And do remember, we have a free Discord group in the description below the video. Definitely check that out. But anyways, let's look at my measured moves here on the daily. So if we look at this whole thing as a flagpole and this being a bear flag, we could be, if we were to break down from today, I'm not saying we're gonna, but if we were to break below this 6,400 today, my next point of support would be around this 5,400. If that breaks, guys, we would at least be looking at the 4,200, and that just being the measured move of the width of this wedge to breaking down. And that's if it was today. Of course, if it's tomorrow, these targets move up. If it's the next day, so on and so forth. You get the picture. But if we looked at this as the flagpole, this being the bear flag, we could go as low as 25.71. And if you look here, this is what I wanted to point out. This is why I said we got a big move coming. Look at the volume, and it's declining to nothing. A lot of people are really bearish, so that does lead me to believe it could be a push up. But this 6,400 is going to be key. If we drop below that, then the big move is going to be down. So keep an eye on that. Like I said, if we can get back above this, if we can break above 7,000, most likely headed to 72. If we could break that, 77. And the highest I could see us going here, if the Dow does a big fake ass rally, we could come all the way up to the $9,000 range, retesting where we broke out of this broadening wedge here. And I'll show you, and it lines up with Litecoin and Ethereum also. But guys, these are my down targets. Like I said, if we break 64, I'd be looking for at least 54. If that was to break 42, which also lines up with this long-term trend line. And if we are to break that, I would be looking for the 25.71. Like I said, as you can see, the volume is going down to near nothing. Now let's look at the RSI on the daily. We had talked about this yesterday. I said, as you can see, we had a falling wedge here, which we broke out of. And I said in the RSI, we could be forming some sort of inverse head and shoulders here. So we could get that big move down here to at least the, again, if we break 64 and close a 4-hour below it, then I'd be looking for that, like I said, 5,400. If that breaks 42, and that lines up with the RSI. So let's keep an eye on that. Let's go into the 4-hour. If we look at the 4-hour, we are getting supported on top of the EMAs here, my smaller ones, the 8, the 13, and the 21. Actually, we're getting supported right now as I'm making this video on the 13. We are below the 8. So again, the 6,400, actually, now looking at these trend lines in the 4-hour, the area to break is going to be around the 6,300. Before we would break down lower. But again, keep in mind, we could get it's a lot, like I said, a lot's going to depend on the Dow, I believe. Let's look at the RSI. On the RSI, we have broken out, down below this channel, so that is bearish. That's making me steer a little bit more towards the move being down. If we look at the RS or the volume here, as you can see, the volume is almost nothing right now. So there is a big move coming, guys. Make sure you're ready. If you are trading this, definitely pay attention to the targets here. Like I said, really watch this. I'd say 7,000. If we can break above the 7,000 again, 72 is my next stop, 77. Then, like I said, around the $8,000 range would be the top of this wedge. If that was to break, like I said, we could go as high as that 9,000, 9,100 to retest this trend line here. So just be careful. I do think we're gonna continue down, but we may get a big spike up first to be a big bull trap and then take it down from there. So that's kind of what I'm expecting. Let's take a look at Litecoin. Litecoin, the same thing. We got a rising wedge here. The measured moves of the breakdown from here, if we were to break down in the next 4 to 8 hours, somewhere in that range, my target actually is 2260 area. That's the measured move of the wedge. If we look at this as a flag pull, this being the bear flag, which is a little less likely, I believe, is around 1433. But if we do see that 2,500 in Bitcoin, then I would be expecting this 1433 in Litecoin. But as you can see in the 4-hour in Litecoin, we have not broken this bottom trend line yet. A break of this will be confirmation that we're going down. I would expect some support here too, also at the 2939. This is a pretty long-term trend line. Go back so you can see it coming all the way from back here. So I would expect at least a bounce around there. But again, if we break this wedge, I'm expecting more towards the 2264 area. A break up would be the 200 EMA is going to be around the 4750 range, which is also the 0.382 fib. If we're able to break that, 5476 is the highest I see us going here, and that being retesting this trend line just like in Bitcoin. So, but like I said, if we do get a move up, I believe it's, it's going to just run with the Dow Jones Industrial if that runs up. But I believe if we run up first, it's going to be a fake out and we're going to come down hard. I still believe we're coming down to these lower lows, guys. In my opinion, not so much the 14, but I do believe would at least come down to the 29 in Litecoin, at least to the 54 in Bitcoin, and Ethereum would be, let's see. So Ethereum, the price we got to watch here is if we can break back above the 145, we're most likely headed up to probably somewhere in the 166 area, which would line up with the 200 EMA. If we're able to break that, then I'd be looking for the 190 area. And let's take a trend line off of these wicks here. So yeah, the highest I see us going there would be about 178 to retest this trend. Again, same thing. Unless we break this in the RSI, if we do break this bottom trend line, we are going to continue lower, in my opinion. Most likely, it will be a nice, hard, swift drop. As you can see, the volume here. And the funny thing is, when you're in a formation like this is verification, confirmation that you're in the formation. The break of it is going to be, the volume is going to be huge when we break out of this. So just be aware of that. Pay attention. I am looking, even if we get a swift move up, I'm still looking for a downside to these lower targets. And this one being a measured move, the breakdown. And again, guys, if it doesn't happen until this weekend or whatever, these targets will move up as we move up on this trend line here. But as of right now, within the next 12 hours or so, if we broke, would be around the 72.48. And if we did a measured move of this as a flag pull, this being a bear flag, measured move of that would be around the 27. And both of those line up with both of these trend lines here. There's a lot of confluence there. So like I said, we could definitely have a nice move up depending on what the Dow is going to do. Let's look at that right now. Let's refresh it. Look at the pre-markets. Dow is down 480. And if you guys watched yesterday's video, I talked about getting resistance here at and I had said we're most likely going to get a suckers rally. You can see the EMAs are turning up. This is the 4 hour. Let's go into the daily first, and then we'll come back to the 4 hour. But as you guys know, I had said 22.5 would be our heavy resistance there. And this white trend line here was major support on our rising channel here, which we had broke. And I do see major resistance here at 23.5 if we are able to rally up. And if we look at the RSI, don't forget to hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I do daily updates every single day. And make sure you tick the notification bell to get you notified. And leave a comment. Let me know what you think that we're going to do today. But anyways, as you can see, we're in a falling broadening wedge here. If we do break this today in the daily, we could be looking for, you know, another rally up to this 23.5. I really don't see us breaking that. I guess it's a possibility. We could come up and come into the golden retracement zone here around 25.5. As high as, I just don't see it happening, the 27. That would be a huge suckers rally. But I honestly believe we'll probably top out around the 23.5. Let's look at my measured moves here. And we've had these forever, since we broke here, actually. If we take a measured move from the break of this, that gives us the 16.8. I'm still looking for at least the 16.8 on the traditional markets, 16,888 points on the Dow. I also have this blue trend line here, making this a megaphone. And if that 1688 wasn't to hold, which there's a good possibility it doesn't, guys, if that 16, around the 16.9 area, 16.8, if that breaks, looking at around the 91 to 9200. I know that sounds crazy, but it's a possibility, guys. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world today. Let's go into the 4 hour real quick and take a look at that. Same thing. Like I said, if you look at the 4 hour, we have broken out of the falling broadening wedge here. As you can see, looks like we could come back all the way up here. I believe this would give us rejection here, and that lines up pretty well with that 23.5 and the 55 EMA here. The 200 EMA is going to be all the way up here around the $27,000 range, which again is possible if they want to rally it that high. But guys, I believe they're sucking everybody back into markets that are just going to plummet. So, excuse me. Keep an eye on it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to click CryptoSavy logo above my head to get you subscribed to the channel. Tick the notification bell to get you notified when I post new videos. Smash that like. Leave your comments below. And I will leave a couple videos right here for tutorials if you want to check them out. Thanks a lot, guys, and I'm out.